Hello there. Today I thought I would do a bit of a discussion about literary prizes. I think it's quite an interesting topic that has sort of been morphing and changing for me over the years. So I thought I would just air my views about how I feel about literary prizes at the moment. Predominantly because I've read a few books this month that have been related to literary prizes. I read The Fisherman, which was shortlisted for the Man Booker a few years ago. I'm currently reading Possession, which won the Man Booker in I think 1990. So it's a subject that interests me, and I think it's one of those things which is quite fascinating to talk about. So some people I know will buy a book if it has sort of the name of a certain literary prize, be it the Man Booker, the Bailey's Prize, whatever. Some people will pick up a book purely because it's got that name of that prize on the cover. And admittedly, I am more likely to gravitate towards a book if it's been involved in a literary prize in some form or another. And I think to a certain extent that's natural, because at the end of the day it's obviously been picked out by that prize. So it's obviously got some kind of merit. And so to a certain extent I think you can kind of judge, like, the Bailey's Prize, or as it's going to be known from now on, the Women's Prize for Fiction, will always pick out sort of books that deal with women issues, whereas the Man Booker very much deals with literary fiction. So you can kind of rest easy what you're going to get if you pick up these books, but at the same time I think it's much more hit or miss than people might realise. And the main reason for that is that with literary prizes, the majority of the time the judges will change from year to year. So the books that a panel likes one year are going to be completely different to the books that a panel like another year, which I think is where the problem comes in. I think that a lot of people assume that because they've liked one Man Booker winner, they're going to like another one. But in the years that I've been following the Man Booker Prize, the winners have changed so drastically because, as I say, there's a different panel of judges, and people's opinions on books and what people enjoy varies so much, and that's not necessarily a reflection on the literary merit of a book. That is just personal opinion. So I think if you are wanting to follow a prize, it gets a bit more difficult because you can't be guaranteed that you're going to always enjoy the winners. As I say, you can kind of rest easy that this book has been picked out for a reason, and obviously there are a lot of sort of steps to go through before books get to the final judges. You know, there are people who read it quite a few times before it gets to that final stage. But yeah, it's just interesting, and I wanted to open this up and see what you guys think. I personally, as I say, I will gravitate towards a book if it's sort of been shortlisted or whatever, but then that's possibly because I've heard more about it. Because obviously on BookTube a lot of people will read the shortlist. There were the Man Booker bloggers a few years ago, so I wanted to pick up pretty much all of those books. But that said, I don't think I would pick up a book solely because it's won a prize. I don't think I would follow a prize because, as I say, it's just too hit and miss. Even though I would say that the Man Booker is probably the creme de la creme for me, I haven't wanted to really read the winners for at least the past 2 years. They just haven't interested me. The Sellout, for example, by Paul Beattie, I really just don't have any appeal to pick up that book. And Lincoln in the Bardo as well, I'm kind of intrigued. I don't think I'll be picking it up anytime soon. I also wanted to talk to you while we're here about books that have won prizes that I've really enjoyed. And actually, going through my bookshelves, there are some that I thought really should have won prizes that didn't, and there aren't actually that many that I can pick out that I loved that have won prizes, which kind of makes me question it again. There are certainly books that I picked out because they are so good I thought there was no way they couldn't have won a prize, and yet they haven't. So the ones that I have got to talk to you about are The Power by Naomi Alderman. I listened to this on audio. I don't have a physical copy. I also always put a disclaimer on this because it seems to be a real Marmite book. I enjoyed the audio experience of listening to this. I do not know if I would enjoy the reading experience, and I do want to check that. But obviously this was the winner of the Bailey's Prize last year. Bailey's Prize is one that I always find a bit hit or miss, because obviously as a prize for women in fiction I love it, and I love the sentiment behind it. So I always kind of gravitate towards those books, but there have been a few times that I've been really disappointed. Sometimes I find that they do kind of stray into the wrong aspect of women fiction for my personal tastes. It goes a bit down the sort of rom-com, easy to read, holiday pick kind of category, which is really not my taste. So there have been a few incidences of that, but I think The Power is what I would expect from a Bailey's Prize winner. So this is a book about female empowerment and a world in which women are coming to the fore and have developed this power that makes them stronger than men. It's not overly literary, but it's also not plot based, and I think that kind of puts it in an awkward middle ground, which I think is why some people really don't like it. I might be wrong, but it is kind of in the middle of the two. It's not overly fast-paced, and I think a lot of people expect it to be a bit faster, but it's also not completely devoid of plot, so it's got that forward drive to it, which it kind of segregates it from the two extremes, really. But I really enjoyed it, and as I say, I think this is what I would expect from a Bailey's Prize winner, a book that very much looks at a world in which females have the power. What I like about this book is that it's not all about gay girl power. It looks at the reality and the fact that it doesn't matter who's in charge. Anybody in that position of power is going to find ways to abuse it and to take advantage of the people who they are stronger than. So it doesn't paint this female world in a perfect light. I think that's definitely the best way to go about it, but I personally would recommend this. As I say, I can't say much for the reading experience, but the audiobook is really good. Then I've got some older winners here. So I've got The Hours by Michael Cunningham. It has won the Pulitzer Prize and the Penn Faulkner Award, and it really deserves those prizes. I have to say the Pulitzer Prize is one that I don't really know that much about it. I don't know, it doesn't seem to get as much coverage. Certainly on BookTube, I've not heard many people speak about the Pulitzer. But this won the Pulitzer. It's a fantastic book. It's a sort of take on Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, but it looks at three women whose lives are all related to that book in some way or another, and all kind of become manifestations of Mrs. Dalloway in different forms. It's just a really fantastic book written about female struggles by a man, and I think he does it so well. As I've said a few times about this book now, I think that Michael Cunningham writes women and the experiences that are solely female. I think the struggle with being a mother, the struggle with being a lover, the struggle with being a female writer, and he does that a lot better than many of the women authors I have read. So I would recommend this one. It's so good. And then while I was looking through my shelves, realised that A Girl Is the Half-Formed Thing by Emma McBride actually won the Bailey's Prize in 2014, which I had forgotten. So this is a really fantastic book that I read a few years ago now, and I would actually like to reread. It's a book that is kind of written in prose poetry, and it's difficult when you first start writing it. It's literally barely understandable, so let me read you a bit. For you, you'll soon. You'll give her name in the stitches of her skin, she'll wear your say. Mammy me? Yes, you. Bounce the bed, I'd say. I'd say that's what you did. Then lay you down, they cut you round, wait an hour and day. Walking up corridors, up the stairs. Are you all right? Will you sit, he says. No, I want, she says. I want to see my son. It's absolutely, when you first start reading it, you're just thinking, what on earth? But I think if you read this quite quickly, I think it probably helps. But if you get into it and actually sit down for a few hours at a time and really get into the pace of this, you just read it like a normal novel, and it completely makes sense to you. It's basically about the struggles of growing up as a female, and also the girl in this, her brother has a tumour as a child, and it's kind of about how she deals with that and how she sort of processes that information, and it's just really fantastic. And again, I think this is one of those books that definitely deserves to have won a prize. So that's about all really. Let me know down below what you think about prizes. Are there prizes that you solidly follow and always have success with, or is it the same for you that it's kind of a hit and miss situation and you never have that one prize that is always really good? To be honest, I kind of think they need a prize that has the same panel of judges or the same sort of criteria each time. I think that maybe would help, but then I don't know, it's good to have the diversity of different opinions and other authors get to have a say. But it kind of throws into question the actual relevance of the prize, because obviously a winner one year might not be a winner the next year. You know, somebody who wasn't even shortlisted one year could have won if they had a different panel of judges. So I don't know, it's a really complicated issue, and it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on it. I will see you next time. Bye.